All right, recording in progress. All right, so thank you all for the invite, and I appreciate it. I'm super passionate about cybersecurity. Um, Around 18 years ago, I came to a similar event for the men. And one of the pastors actually not preached, presented about the IT field. So they were talking about the MCSE, MCSA track, and how people were making money from getting all these certifications in IT. And for the MCSE at the time, I think it was about 6 certifications that you had to get to become an MCSE. Then I think MCSA was 4, and then MCSE was either 6 or 8. Um, at the time, it took me a while to get all those certifications. I obviously procrastinated, and by the time I got all those certifications, the field was already saturated, and people were not paying the 100K figure salary anymore. So I got on the train or the boat late. So I'm imploring you guys not to miss out on this opportunity. Right now, the cybersecurity field is booming. And I feel like it's a full circle moment for me to present to you guys and kind of give back. So I'm going to see if it's possible to share my screen. Um, let's see. So let me know if you guys see my screen. I hope you guys can
Yes,
see.
we can.
Okay, awesome. All right, so enough about my background. I think this was covered. Our agenda for tonight is to talk about what is cybersecurity, why choose a career in cybersecurity, the demand and supply of cybersecurity jobs, women in cybersecurity, the technical side of cybersecurity versus the non-technical side of cybersecurity. And we'll go through some exercises and activities and talk about how to get into the cybersecurity field in 7 steps. And lastly, we'll talk about salaries in cybersecurity, and then we'll open it up for questions and answers. So what is cybersecurity? What is cybersecurity? So cybersecurity is a means of protecting assets while ensuring that there is confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So your assets could be data, devices, people, and reputation. We talk about confidentiality, we're talking about making sure that unauthorized people do not gain access to data or to systems. So having passwords, having clearances, and things of that nature, making sure that only the people who are authorized to see something can see something. Integrity, when we talk about integrity, we're talking about the unauthorized modification of data. So think about someone changing figures, right? So instead of a check for $500, they add an extra zero and it's $5,000. So that's what we mean when we talk about integrity. Availability, on the other hand, is making sure that the systems are accessible, that systems are online. So if you think about a company like Amazon, if their website is down for 5 minutes, they've lost millions of dollars. Same could be said about Netflix, eBay, and even more recently, Facebook. And you could see the impact of that, where downstream people could not promote their products on Instagram and Facebook. Their ad dollars are being wasted. So cybersecurity is a huge field. Why choose a career in cybersecurity? Why choose a career in cybersecurity? So For one, it's in the news all the time. Every time you hear of this person got hacked, this company got hacked. So it's almost like the bad guys are doing a good job in advertising the need for someone to hire you. All right. Then also the ratio of jobs um, for the skilled people in cybersecurity. So there's a high demand for cybersecurity jobs, but there's a low supply of people who are actually skilled to fulfill those jobs. And countries like China, Russia, they have people, tons of people who are attacking the nation on a daily basis, not just government agencies. They're going after companies and trying to steal intellectual property. Then we could look at something called the Internet of Things, IoT. This simply means that we're connected, this day and age, we're getting connected to the internet more and more. So you have devices like Alexa, your Ring doorbell, smart TV, smartphone, smartwatch. You even have smart refrigerator that sends you an email when your fridge is not shut properly or if you're low on milk. Isn't that crazy? So you're only as strong as your weakest link. So an attacker could find a hole in one of these devices and use that to sneak into something else, into your systems. So the more we're getting connected with technology, the more there is a need for cybersecurity professionals to mitigate those risks. Then we talk about the fact that cybersecurity is not going away anytime soon because there's technology all the time. There's new technology. And anytime there's new technology, the bad guys always find a way to exploit that new technology. All right, just think about the transition. We started with the BlackBerry. Now we're on iPhone 1 million. So there's always going to be a need for cybersecurity professionals. Then compliance. So there's laws and regulations on why people should protect or harden their systems. So organizations are required by law to protect their systems. So we've got PCI DSS, which deals with the credit card and retail industry. We have HIPAA, which deals with healthcare, FedRAMP, which deals with the cloud. So there's so many regulations that companies have to remain compliant. There's a new one called CMMC, which means that every contractor for the DoD, and the DoD has tons and tons of contractors, they have to make sure they go through some kind of assessment before they're allowed to get any contracts. So yeah, you think about companies that have $30 million contracts with the DoD, they're not going to try to risk that. So they would want to hire a cybersecurity professional to do that assessment. And also cloud migration. Systems are going to the cloud all the time. So if you think of the cloud, really, the cloud is people accessing systems over the internet. So if you think of the risk of your data being exposed to someone in a different country or just over the internet, so they need cybersecurity professionals to make sure that the cloud is secure. And one thing I like to say is that we live in an information age. So the people who know how to protect information will always remain valuable and highly paid. All right, for some reason I can't go to the next slide. All right, so this is an article from Cybercrime magazine that talks about unfilled jobs. So it says the cybersecurity talent crunch to create 3.5 million unfilled jobs globally by 2021. Another article from monster.com speaks to the fact that it's not going away anytime soon. It doesn't seem like the need for more cybersecurity professionals is going anywhere in the foreseeable future. The rate of growth for jobs in information security is projected at 37% from 2012 to 2022. That's much faster than the average for all other occupations. And this is stats from the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, which is saying that the growth of all other occupations is at 11%. So there's an 11% growth in all other occupations. In all other IT fields, it's 18%, but in cybersecurity, it's 37%. And how about contracts? So a lot of consulting companies are getting awarded huge contracts. Accenture, 112 million. Another one for Accenture, 7.5 billion. Booz Allen, 5 billion for cybersecurity contract, 113 million, 1 billion. So all these contracts would need cybersecurity professionals. So I would want to be part of the number of people hired to support those contracts. So here is something I got from the internet. I'm just going to play it. So these are companies that have been hacked, and it's no respecter of persons. Look at the different industries. So there's a healthcare industry, tech, advertising, transportation, web, financial. So this Air Canada, they got hacked. Anthem, AOL, Apple, AT&T. Which one is this? Oops. So there's a bunch of companies that have been hacked. eBay, DoorDash, like who's hacking DoorDash? DSW, a shoe store. So it's no respecter of persons. Anyone is susceptible to a cybersecurity breach. Sometimes they do it for bragging rights. Sometimes they do it for financial reasons. And the scary thing is that these hacking tools are available online for free. So to some people who don't know how to use these tools, just go online, go on YouTube, learn them, and are able to wreak havoc. Cybercrime. So this article is talking about the economic impact. So it's going to cost the country $6 trillion in cyber attacks annually. And women in cybersecurity. So in 2013, there was an 11% representation of women worldwide in cybersecurity. But as of March 28, it jumped to 20%. So we see a slight uptick there. And this article is talking about while 44% of men in cybersecurity hold a postgraduate degree, the number of women is 52%. So we see some interest there in women trying to get into the cybersecurity field. And it's talking about 45% are millennial. So millennial females versus 33% male. And here's kind of a summary of what we've talked about so far. And here, they're talking about representation of women in Fortune 500 companies as chief information security officers. So there was in 2017, it was 13%. And in 2019, it's now 20%. And here is the projection that there'll be 3.5 million unfulfilled jobs. So what's the ratio of women globally? In North America, it's 14% of women in cybersecurity. In Europe, 7%. In the Middle East, 5%. In Latin America, 8%. In Africa, 9%. In Asia Pacific, it's 10%. So it's saying the cybersecurity field needs you. But for the future of women in cybersecurity, more organizations are creating initiatives for women to get into the cybersecurity field. So awareness, training opportunities, and things of that nature. So here's a list of some trainings, conferences, and networking opportunities. So here is my company, CyberFirst Solutions. There's another one called Women in Cybersecurity, Women's Society of Cyber Jiu-Jitsu, Women Who Code. So there's a whole bunch of initiatives, and this is a good article for you to read on women in cybersecurity. So why some women have passion for cybersecurity? Forbes is reporting that a lot of women are enjoying the cybersecurity field. This lady says, at its core, cybersecurity is about protecting people from harm, and when someone is victimized, discovering who did it. This other person says, I enjoy protecting people from harm, pursuing bad actors, and continuously learning. I love my job. So that could be you. Now, like I said, there is the technical aspect of cybersecurity, and there's the policy or technical or non-technical aspect of cybersecurity. So with the technical side, they mainly deal with solving problems by fixing stuff, installing, doing configuration on systems. But on the non-technical side, you solve problems by providing guidance and developing policies and procedures. So a lot of people tend to flock to the technical side of cybersecurity because once you hear cybersecurity, you automatically think of some guy that's crouched over a computer, typing code, hacking away. But people forget that there's the policy side of cybersecurity. So the guys at the top, like the Chief Information Security Officer, the Chief Information Officer, they need to find out what's going on. The technical guys cannot speak to those people in the C-suite because it's going to be technical this, technical that, jargon. But the non-technical guys are able to take these technical terms and relay them in a layman's terms to the C-suite. So let's take a look at some technical cybersecurity jobs. So first one we have is incident response. So we've got an incident response analyst. This person is someone who sits in a SOC, the Security Operations Center. So they monitor the network for any type of malicious traffic. They would be the people you report to when there is like a phishing email or suspicious malware on the network. So they'll do some analysis. So they're like detectives in a way. The personality type for this career is someone who's technical, someone who's a problem solver, who likes to track down issues. You definitely will work on a team. You're more hands-on and you monitor stuff. With this job, it's shift work. There's a lot of shift work. So you could work on weekends, you could work nights. And we see a lot of cybersecurity professionals actually doing two jobs. So they'll do one in the morning and then they'll pick up a SOC analyst job. So bringing in two six-figure salaries. In some cases, there's no telework, depending on the sensitivity of the data of that organization. Then you have a penetration tester. So a penetration tester, or sometimes called the pen tester, is an ethical hacker. So this is someone you hire to actually go and hack your system permission, of course, and see what holes you have on your network or your organization. And then they will provide a report to the leadership and say, hey, this is what you need to fix, blah, blah, blah. So this is a job that's technical in nature. So one of the things about this job is that it might involve traveling. So you have to go from site to site to do your hacking. Sometimes you could do it remotely, depending on the scope of work. And one drawback of this position is that you have to keep up with skills. So you're constantly learning. So if that's not your cup of tea, then this might not be something of interest to you. The next one is vulnerability scan analyst. So this person will run scans to find out what is vulnerable, what the vulnerabilities are on the network. If you think of anyone ever used an antivirus tool, so they use something similar, but it's has more bells and whistles, and it can scan different ranges of IP addresses and host names and find different things. It could also print out a report with the solutions for you. So if you're technical and you love tools and you have that personality type, then this is a job for you. One of the drawbacks is that it could be boring because you're doing the same thing, just clicking next. And you also need to know how to remedy false positives. So sometimes this tool might scan something and say this is a problem, but it might actually not be a problem. So you have to be technically sound. Then you've got the security administrator, also known as a security guy. So this job or title is more for companies that don't really have a cybersecurity team or cybersecurity department, and they just have one guy who is the jack of all trades. So anything security related, that person does. I would say run far away from this type of position. It is not a good way to start your cybersecurity career. And it's always so fast paced, everyone's relying on you. Cloud security professional. So this is like one of the #1 professions now, cloud computing. So there's a cloud security aspect of it. You could be a cloud security engineer, cloud security architect, cloud analyst, or whatever you want to call it. You have to know about networking. So whatever we did in the on-prem environment, whatever we did back in the day, you're going to have to know the basics of that, but now trying to figure out how you do that in the cloud. So it's a technical position, but in a way not as technical as a person that has physical networking skills. Nowadays it's easier, but it's still somewhat technical. One of the drawbacks of this is that you would have to master one technology for the most part. So Amazon AWS is the leader in cloud computing, followed by Microsoft Azure. And then you have Google Cloud and you have some others. But most of the time, an organization would use one or the other. Hardly do you see an organization use both. So if you know AWS, then you're limited to only jobs that do AWS. And if you know Azure, you're limited to jobs that only do Azure. And if you say you're going to learn both, then one will be lacking. Firewall administrator. So a firewall you could think of as a bouncer. So if you're supposed to go to a club or an event, usually there's a bouncer in front of the door. And the bouncer has a list of people who are allowed to go in. So if you're not on the list, then you can't go in. If you're on the list, then you can go in. So that's what the firewall is like. So it's a tool that allows particular servers or IP addresses to go onto the network, and it blocks also blocks malicious traffic. This position, you have to be technically sound. You have to be someone who's cautious, thinks about risk. You can't be a people pleaser in this position, because you would have to say no all the time. People will reach out to you saying, hey, can you open up this port? We need to do XYZ. You have to be comfortable telling them no. The drawback of this position is that you would have to learn, similar to the cloud position, you would have to learn different firewall products. So the main ones are Cisco, Palo Alto, Checkpoint, Juniper. So you would have to learn the different types of firewall if you're trying to get another job. You've got your security engineer. This is someone who does the security implementation of a system or a network. But if you're a security engineer on the consulting side, then you'll provide step-by-step guidance on how to secure a system. So this is a technical position, and it involves a lot of research of tools. Now let's look at the non-technical side of cybersecurity. First on the list, we have our security assessor, also known as the security control assessor. So this is a non-technical job at all. And it's so cool because you have a checklist of things, and you're basically saying, hey, did you guys do this? No, you didn't do it? Fail. Oh, you did this? Pass. It's something where you don't really have to think that much or come up with your own security advice, because everything is written in your checklist. And we'll talk about what that checklist is on a later slide. So here you don't work alone, you work on a team. And a lot of times you could feed off your team members to kind of derive the right answer. There's a lot of telework opportunities, especially now with COVID. You've got a lot of jobs that are 100% remote. And I know of people who have like 3 jobs just doing this. Then you have your GRC, Governance Risk Compliance Analyst. So this person sits down with the Chief Information Security Officer and helps an organization write security policies or procedures. So the Chief Information Security Officer could be like, I want to make sure that everyone uses encryption. So you would have to put pen to paper and say, okay, this is how we're going to draft this policy. Everyone's going to use encryption using AES 50 or 256 bit encryption. And it has to be done this way in compliance with this law. So this for this position, you have to know the regulations, you have to know the company's policies, you have to know all the security controls and the different regulations about cybersecurity and privacy. You must have good oral and written communication skills and presentation skills. And this one is near and dear to my heart. It is the Information System Security Officer. So as the Information System Security Officer, also called ISSO, sometimes called Information Security Officer, ISO or ISO, with this position, you're the middleman. So you're the person, or middle woman. So you're the person in between the Chief Information Security Officer and your clients. So you're a liaison, you're an extension of the Chief Information Security Officer. So these guys on the right are trying to do something, like they're trying to install a system. They have to go to you first to say, hey, how do we install this system securely? And how do we make sure we pass an assessment? Because in the federal government, you can't just install something on the system. It has to go through a security assessment. So you, as the ISSO, you kind of prep them for the assessment before the assessor comes on site to assess the security controls, and then they'll come to you for guidance. Hey, we're trying to do XYZ. How do we do that? Oh, let me think. You go to your book, your policy book. Well, the policy on this is no. I'm sorry, you guys can't do that because the policy says no. Oh, how about if we want to install a game on our system? What's the policy for that? Can we do that? And you check your policy book. No, you're not allowed to do that. Or how about encryption? What do we do with encryption? Oh, yeah, you're allowed to have encryption. It has to meet this standard. So that's pretty much what an ISSO does. Majority of your job is spent in meetings and reading documentation. You do not fix anything. You do not install anything. You basically tell people what to do. And you do data calls. So sometimes you'll get an email saying, hey, can we get a list of all the systems that are Windows systems? You go reach out to your client that you represent and say, hey, get me a list of get me the inventory of all the Windows systems, and you send the email back. So you're just like a in-between person, go-between, a gopher. Other non-technical roles, you have the ISSO support or RMF analyst. So this position involves you supporting the ISSO, and it's usually slated for people with no experience or little experience, so like a junior ISO or something like that. So you would be the person collecting evidence from your clients before the assessment. You'll be the person uploading documentation. We have our mics on mute, please. Thank you. All right, so skills required for the non-technical cybersecurity jobs. You should know how to set up meetings, because majority of your time will be spent setting up meetings, joining meetings. So using tools like Zoom, Skype, Teams, and because of the pandemic, everyone should be familiar with using Zoom now. Reviewing documentation, the ability to use a computer. So you should know how to use a computer. And when we say using a computer, just knowing how to surf the internet, knowing how to use Microsoft Word, knowing how to use Excel. And when we say use Excel, we mean very, very basic knowledge in Excel. PowerPoints, knowing how to sign PDFs, and the ability to research. And if you don't know how to use Excel, you don't know how to use Word, you could always YouTube it. So this is how everything kind of fits together. The Chief Information Security Officer, the Chief Information Officer, these people govern. So they're the ones who provide the goals for the organization. The security engineer, the cloud security engineer, the cloud architect, the firewall administrator, these people are the technical people who implement what according to the policy of, or the wishes of the Chief Information Officer and the Chief Information Security Officer. Then you got the ISO, the Security Assessor, the Vulnerability Scan Analyst. These people are involved in verifying that the technical people did the right thing. So trust but verify. Then you got your incident response. These people are damage control. So they're after the fact people. So something made it through the network. There was a hack. What do we do next? So these would be the people responsible for that. Here are some articles that talk about the fact that you don't need to have technical skills. You don't need to have a technical background to be in the cybersecurity field. So here is one from SANS. It's saying getting started in cybersecurity with a non-technical background. And here it talks about first, absolutely yes, it is possible. I know many fantastic cybersecurity professionals who in prior lives were English teachers, real estate agents, psychology majors, or marketing professionals with little or to no technical training. Then there's another one that says, wait, I don't need to be a programmer to work in cybersecurity. And here's another one from Inc. Magazine that says cybersecurity jobs aren't just for hackers anymore. So these jobs are out there. A lot of times people don't know about them. So here is a survey on top growing cybersecurity skills. Cloud is like on number 2. Application development security is number 1. Risk management, which is non-technical, is number 3 at 60%. A lot of people don't know about this job, but it requires no technical skills at all. So here is an activity that I want you guys to do. A lot of us are familiar with spot the difference game. So I've got 2 images, one to the left, one to the right. Can anyone, you can put that in the chat. Tell us what is different about these 2 pictures. And I'll tell you guys what the significance of this is. Two images look the same, but are not the same. So if you could put in the chat. All right, someone says the apron. Someone says the lipstick is different. Yeah, long skirt, long apron, yep. Someone pointed out the tattoo. All right, any more? Head, yeah, exactly. Hair tie, head, yeah, polka dot headband. All right, awesome. All right, so answers to the activity: tattoo, polka dots, lipstick, purple versus red, apron, long, short. Were there any other ones? I don't think there was anything else that we could find. All right. Activity number 2. I'm not sure what happened with this mark on the screen. All right. Activity number 2. Question. It is raining outside. What items would you select to prevent your hair from getting wet? What items would you select to prevent your hair from getting wet? Is it A, an umbrella, B, a raincoat, C, rain boots or puddle stumper, D, a newspaper? All right, you can put your answers in the chat. See what we got. All right, people will say A, B, A, B, A, B. Someone says D. I need to talk to you after this session. All right. So with this exercise, it's just to show you that you already naturally are geared towards thinking about risk management. You already have that risk management mindset. All right. So if we were to look at, so those are the answers, by the way. If we were to look at an organization, right? Let's put this in an organization context. So this is activity number 3. Company XYZ does not want to have a virus on their main computer system. Which one of the following will you advise them to do? A, do nothing, they won't catch it. B, install antivirus software. C, install Microsoft Word. Answers in the chat. All right, people are saying B, install antivirus software, right? B, exactly. So the significance of the activities that we've done so far is saying, hey, if I know it's going to rain, what is going to be the impact to me if I go outside? My hair is going to get wet. So what can I do to reduce the impact of my hair getting wet. So I'll use an umbrella. I'll use a raincoat, right? It might not get my hair dry 100%, but it's going to reduce the chances of it getting totally wet. So the same thing in cybersecurity, risk management, you're thinking, okay, how would I reduce the impact of a virus? What do I need to put in place to prevent a virus? Just like you use the umbrella to prevent the impact of rain, we use antivirus software to prevent the impact of a breach. So with the policy side of cybersecurity, right? Like we did the spot the difference exercise. In real life, you're going to be doing a spot the difference exercise. So your company policy could say, we have a password policy where we need at least one capital letter in the password. We need at least one special character, one of these characters, at least one lowercase letter, at least 15 characters long. So every department has their own SOPs. The difference between a policy and an SOP, a difference between a policy, a difference between a procedure is a policy is more general. Procedure document is more step by step. Okay, so the company could have a general policy saying, we don't want this to be, we want you to do this. The individual departments might stray from that policy. So here you would spot the difference when you look at their documentation versus the company policy. So the company policy is saying 15, but in their documentation, they're saying 7. Then they will send you a screenshot of how that was configured. So this is a screenshot of the configuration. It's saying 7 characters when this should be saying 15. So automatically this will be a fail. So it's that simple. And where do you get the information, you might ask? There is your cheat sheet. Here is this document called NIST 800-53. NIST 800-53. And the other one is your company's policies. So NIST 800-53 is made by, can you guys go on mute, please? Thanks. So NIST is the National Institute of Standards and Technology. So think of all these technical SMEs, experienced professionals came together and said, hey, let's think of every scenario that could involve a cyber attack. Let's think of every scenario, okay? And let's put all these things into groups. So we have a group called access control. We're gonna put all the different scenarios of access control breaches and what people need to do to prevent a breach regarding access control. Let's think about every cybersecurity risk that involves privacy. Let's think about every cybersecurity breach that involves encryption. So your answer is like your Bible. It has all the answers here. So anytime someone asks you a question, all you have to do is just search here and provide the answer for them. Anytime you want to tell them what to do security-wise, you don't have to think about it. You just pull it out of this book because this is the law. This is the guide. And also the organization's policies, which is tailored to that organization. All right, more evidence or more proof to make you know that you are the right person for the job in cybersecurity risk management, that you have a risk management mindset. How many times have we used the phrase, just in case? Oh, when we go out to this restaurant, let me take a sweater just in case it's cold. Let me do this just in case this happens. That's risk management. How many times have you shared your work password? Probably never. How many times have you shared your social security number? No. How many times have you shared your ATM PIN? How many times have you put a lock code on your phone to lock and unlock your phone? How many times have you had parental control on your TV or your kids' devices? How many of you have car insurance? How many of you lock your cars when you get out of your car? How many of you have home security systems, right? You do all these things because of just in case, right? So you already have that mindset. So it's going to be an easy transition from whatever field you're in to go into the cybersecurity risk management field. All right, so now how do I get into cybersecurity? So I came up with a 7-step a process from one of my ebooks. A lot of people ask me, how do I get into the cybersecurity field? So cybersecurity is broad. So it's like asking, how do I get into the military? It's a valid question, but then what part of the military, what arm, what branch of the military are you talking about? Are you talking about the Navy, the Air Force, Coast Guards, Marines, National Guard? What branch of the military? So when people say, I want to get into cybersecurity, same question. What branch, what aspect, what field within cybersecurity? Got your security engineer, like we went over the different fields. So first thing you want to do is find out about the different fields within cybersecurity. See which one you would be a good fit for. What matches your personality type? Are you more technically inclined? Or are you more policy procedure driven? And the next step will be to, once you've identified those different fields within cybersecurity, look up the certifications involved with those positions. A quick way to do that will be to go online. So if you go to Indeed.com or any of those job sites and you type in the name of that position, look for the requirements. If it says you need this particular certification, then you know that's a certification that's tied to that particular position. So now once you identified what that certification is, try to get training on that certification. So look for schools. You can find some that do online or in person. A majority of schools are doing online because of COVID. Then step 4 would be to, once you've gotten your training, develop your resume. Try to take the test for that certification. If you don't take the test, still put that certification on your resume, but put in parentheses, in progress. So what that does is when these employers use tools to filter resumes, yours will be selected because you have that certification on your resume. And when you go to the interview, sometimes if they like your personality, they might say, okay, even though you don't have the certification, we'll give you the job. It's contingent on you getting the certification within 6 months or however. So make sure you include your soft skills, like I'm a team player, active listener, I have communication skills, things of that nature. Also look for junior jobs. The next step will be to find a job. Again, go to Indeed, Glassdoor, Dice. Those are good websites to find cybersecurity jobs. You could also go to the company's website directly and apply. For some reason, that works better if you apply directly on the company's website. Step 6, prepare for your interview. So research the company, know what space they're in. If they're in the healthcare space, and know exactly what the company's about. Make sure you look up the job description and tailor your resume. Make sure you had tailored your resume to the job description. Make sure you could speak to each point on your resume. Then also try to come up with questions like what, why, how, when, where, who. For example, who does this? How is this done? How is this installed in the system? How, come up with those type of questions and they will help you. Also, you could go online and just type interview questions for an ISSO, interview question for a security control assessor, practice scenario questions, look up cybersecurity basics. Definitely you want to prepare about the cybersecurity basics for your interview. There are different tips that I could share with you on how to ace your interview, especially with COVID, because you're doing it remotely. But because of time, I won't be able to go into that. Step 7, negotiate your salary. Negotiate your salary. Just know that usually the first offer is not always the best offer. Sometimes they try to lowball you. Sometimes they try to see what you'll bite. So make sure you know what the market rate is for your positions. You could go on Glassdoor and click on the salaries tab, and it will tell you what the salaries are. You could actually type in the company name and do a review, and it will tell you the types of salaries that they pay for that particular position. And they actually have people who have left reviews on interviews, so you could get some interview questions on there as well. Make sure you speak up. Don't leave any money on the table. Speak of yourself, speak up for yourself. Tell them the things that you bring to the table. A friend of mine was telling me about someone who applied for a job and had already accepted a particular salary. And then the next day the day he got on site, he was talking with the manager, and he saw his name on the manager's desk and saw the different salary positions, ranges, and the low one was circled. So he could have asked for more, but he instead got timid and asked for the low range or low end of that salary range. Salaries for a security control assessor. So this is from Glassdoor. They said the average is 103,000 and some change, up to 148K and growing. Salaries for an ISSO, mid-range is 117, and you can get up to 162. Salaries for a GRC, a policy person, 104. You can go up to 156. Where you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, all the socials, and that's my number. Let me see. This slide was actually supposed to come before that one, but we could do this. So here I did a screen capture when I was searching for a job. So I went to Indeed and I typed the keyword ISSO in here. It should play sometime soon. So if you go to Indeed, Dice, Glassdoor, just type in ISSO. Type in Washington, D.C., because that will bring up more jobs in the region. And it will pull up the different companies that are hiring. See, that was saying page 1 of 600 and something. So there are tons and tons of policy and non-technical cybersecurity jobs, 117. So you could do the research yourself and go in there and type in security control assessor, type in ISSO and see the results that show up. Any questions? Any questions so far?
Sorry, I was on mute. So for our questions, our Q&A, if you can please write your questions in the chat box and I would be able to read them out. The first question we have here is from Jumi. In general, as a security analyst, what will the day-to-day look like? Is it meeting heavy? And how often will an analyst present her analysis? I am just wondering if it is on a daily or weekly basis. Maybe the emphasis on being in meetings have caused a little bit of a scare here, but yes, that's our first question.
Yeah, so it all depends on, one, the organization you join, the team you have, and what role you're on. So if you're an assessor, a lot of times the assessors are in the background and they'll do the assessments and submit their reports. In some organizations, they want the assessors to set up meetings. So one will be a kickoff meeting where your manager and your teammates will basically walk your clients and your project team through the whole assessment process. Stage one, we're going to do this, we're going to ask for this, we're going to do all that. And then the next meeting that you'll have would be an interview meeting. So you would talk to them. You could either do that by sending emails, asking your questions by sending emails. You could ask your questions by talking to them over the phone, or you could set up an in-person meeting. So it's COVID now, so you would do it on Zoom. There's really nothing to be worried about. And if you're the type of person that needs assistance, you could have your teammate join you on the call. But yeah, it's going to be, I would say, 50% meetings and 50% doing documentation.
Thank you for that. The next question is from Haja. I apologize if I did not pronounce correctly. I took an intro course in software development recently, but I found it difficult to catch on. How much software development is involved in the cybersecurity field, or is cybersecurity different?
So yeah, software development is different from cybersecurity. You do have what you call DevSecOps. So you have some people who are trained in spotting security weaknesses in software. So that's a different field altogether. But you're not going to be developing code or doing anything. You're mainly going to be using tools to test the software to see if it has any holes. So you're not going to be doing any coding. But there is pen testing. Penetration testing, again, is like when you're a hacker, an ethical hacker. That will involve you learning how to do code or learn Linux commands and things of that nature for different tools like Snort, Splunk. So yeah, not coding, but commands, learning how to do commands. On the non-technical side of things, it's zero coding, zero commands. It's just you knowing the process on how to get someone's system authorized. So you're almost like a lawyer or inspector or ambassador in some fashion.
Thank you. So the next question is, if you already have a risk management background, how do you transition to cybersecurity? Maybe I can pair this with another question, which is about determining, how do you determine what side of it, since you've presented different aspects? Sorry, I'm going to just kindly mute. You presented different subfields within cybersecurity. How do you determine your fit? So I'm just going to put those two questions together because I think they somewhat would be linked.
Okay, so one is knowing that there's a technical side and there's a non-technical side. So if you're technical in nature, if you're more technically inclined, you like technical stuff, you like hands-on tools, then you will fall under that umbrella. If you're not, I shouldn't say not technical, but you don't really fancy the technical stuff and you would much rather deal with like policy or reading documents, then you'll fall under that umbrella. So then you just have to decide. There are three main ones in the non-technical side, which is policy, which is the other one's ISSO, and the other one is assessor. So the assessor is you passing and failing security controls. A security control is something you put in place to reduce risk. So it could be a firewall, it could be antivirus, it could be a password, or it could be a policy. So you would have to know those security controls in the NIST documentation. Then the first question was, how do you make that transition? If you already know, I think everyone naturally has a security mindset. You protect your children, you protect yourself. When you drive, you know, I'm going to put my blinker on when I want to switch lanes, or it's dark, let me put on my headlights. Why? Why are you doing this? Because one, you're trying to obey the law. Two, you're trying not to get hit. So everyone kind of has a natural security mindset. So making that transition would be, if you're in the healthcare field, they have compliance regulations. So they have HIPAA, right? So you could make that transition on your resume saying, hey, I'm familiar with HIPAA. I'm familiar with some sort of compliance. I also have skills attending meetings. I also have organization skills. Most women, compared to men, that I know of, or let me just speak for myself. Most women handle the finances of the home. Most women are in tune with the goings in and out of the home. So they are managers naturally. They manage the homes. So you could also manage risk within an organization. Hope I answered that question.
I believe so, but if you want to post a follow-up question, feel free to do that. So you started with the two sides, the non-technical side and the technical side. Now, one still has to be able to determine your aptitude for the technical aspect, right? So how do you do that? How do you even, if your ability to, how do you discern, because technical means different things for different fields.
Right. So first thing would be to do your research. So go online and look up that particular position, right? Try to find out what the certification is for that position, and then get a textbook on that position. So you'll see the different things that position entails. So like for a penetration tester, you'll see the different software tools that you need to know. You'll see the different code that you need to learn. So if that is something that is a turn off for you, then maybe that's not your cup of tea. For a security engineer or cloud security person, there's tons of information on, or actually free training on AWS on how to become a cloud, not just cloud security, but a cloud professional. So you could go to AWS, sign up for a free tier. So you'll have access to the AWS environment. You'll be able to build EC2 instances, which is basically virtual machines, and they'll teach you on how to do that. So if you think that is something that you're into, then you could proceed with it. So I guess long and short would be to do the research and try to practice on your own. So like for me, when I got into the IT field, I tried to build computers myself. I got the motherboard, the CPU, the different RAM and everything. So I actually built my computers from scratch. There was no YouTube back then. There was no Facebook. There was no way to learn, but by buying books or buying the video CDs or DVDs. And I think right now it's easy because because of social media, the world has become smaller. Back in the day, you would need to, in order to talk to a CEO, you would have to fax something, you would have to send a letter, you would have to make a phone call. But now you could actually communicate with a CEO of a Fortune 500 company through LinkedIn. Sometimes they'll post an article on LinkedIn and you could comment on the article and the person will engage you. So a lot of times you could go on LinkedIn. That's another way to find out. You could go on LinkedIn and look up people who are in that field and ask them and say, hey, what's the day-to-day like as a security engineer? What do I need to do? as a security to get into that field. So that's another way. And on YouTube, they've got tons and tons of training, step by step on what you would do. And if that looks like Kryptonian to you, that looks like crazy coding, then maybe that might not be your cup of tea. Hope I answered that, Shirley.
Thank you. So definitely do your research, find out what a particular role that seems interesting and that could be a good fit for you requires, and dig into what those requirements are. And in the process, you'll determine whether or not you are interested, capable, and can, well, I believe everyone has some capabilities, but whether it is a good fit for you, you and your talents.
Exactly. So like at home, would you be the one to mount your TV or fix something when something breaks? Or would you be the one to just call someone to fix it? That's an easy indicator whether you would want to venture into the technical side of things or not.
That's a good example. So we have a question here from Obi about the specific certifications. We've listed some of the ones that you have, and I believe there are more that we probably didn't discuss that you have. But the question here is, what are the specific certifications and years of experience needed for the non-technical side of cybersecurity?
Great question. So there's something called the DoD 8570, and I believe they've done a different version now to keep up with the new certification. So the DoD actually came up with a list of cybersecurity certifications in different levels and said, hey, if you're level 1, you need to have this one. If you're level 2, you need to have that one. So they came up with a list of certifications. So sometimes when you go to Indeed, Glassdoor, they'll say must have a cybersecurity certification or anything on the DoD 8570 list. So to break it down, the first one, the basic cybersecurity certification and more in demand one, first one is Security Plus. It is, for someone who doesn't have any technical skills, it might be a little bit technical, but it really isn't. It's multiple choice, and they have maybe about 5 simulation type of exercises where they'll, drag and drop, or click the next, click this. So it's that will be the first certification to get into cybersecurity. For the non-technical side, I think the best and the easiest cybersecurity certification that's not technical at all is the CAP, the CAP. It's called the Certified Authorization Professional, and that's really about cybersecurity risk management. It just talks about the process and procedures, who does what, when do you do this. So it's more process driven and not technical at all. The drawback or the caveat on that one is that you would need, so if you took the exam today and you passed it, you would be designated an associate level CAP certification, and you would need an additional 2 years of experience in the cybersecurity field before you get the full designation. The Security Plus, on the other hand, does not have any experience requirements, no prerequisites. You can just go in and take it. And then the most difficult one, or the granddaddy and the most respected one, is the CISSP. The exam is 250 questions and it's 6 hours, and it costs about $600. And it covers everything on cybersecurity, everything. But it doesn't, surprisingly, does not go, they say it's a mile wide and an inch deep certification. So it doesn't really go deep down into the technical stuff. You still have to know, because there's a networking domain, there's a software development domain. So that one, I wouldn't advise you to go get that one straight away. So go get the Security Plus. And there are lots of practice questions that you could use to pass the Security Plus. The best books on certifications, on any cybersecurity certification that I have ever used, are the Cybex books, Sybex. It's usually a white book with a watchtower on the front. They're very, very easy to follow. Like they're, an easy read. And then what you could do is after each chapter, they have a summary that says exam essentials. So things that you must know, and then they'll have practice questions. So there are apps where you could download and do practice questions on. So if you're trying to be a penetration tester, there's a certified ethical hacker exam, which is entry level for pen testers, and it's multiple choice. So there's a whole list. I'll implore you to look at the DoD 8570 list, and you'll see the different lists of certification. And again, if you type in the position in Indeed or Glassdoor, under the requirements, you'll see what certification is required. And let me also mention that there's not every job requires you to have the certification. I know people who have been in the field and don't have a certification. Some people are just not good test takers. My company, not my company, but the company that I work for, they hire people that just came out of college. So those people don't have certifications, and they'll give them like 6 months to get the certification, and they'll pay for boot camps for those people to get the certification. So they'll charge the government $300 an hour for people, and then give you a salary of 150, 130, 112. For people who have no experience, interns just coming out of college, sometimes they'll charge the government $97 an hour, $100 an hour for those skill sets. But yeah, you don't always need certifications, but it's good to have one to stand out from the pack.
Thank you. So I think that sort of covers this question, which was, I don't have an IT background whatsoever. How is the job market for entry-level professionals? Or maybe you may want to add on to that. Another angle to that question is, how do you build on your current experience, depending on the field you might be in, whether it be healthcare, finance? How do you build your existing experience so that your non-cybersecurity specific experience still counts towards you pursuing a job opportunity?
Okay, so let me answer the first one. First one is, with no experience, look for roles that have the word junior in front of it. So junior ISSO, junior security control assessor. So those entry-level jobs still pay decent. It may not be 6 figures all the time. It might be 80, 70, 90, but it's a good way to get your foot into the door. Then how do you build on your experience? So if you are in the healthcare field, there's no knowledge that's wasted in cybersecurity, because like I showed you before, there are different industries. There's no respecter of persons. Uber got hacked, so you could say that's rideshare or transportation. So no matter what industry or field you're in, you could always bring something to the table when it comes to cybersecurity. I'll tell you, when I made the switch from IT to cybersecurity, I had VMware experience. And the first system that they put me on was a system with VMware. They had no one on the team with VMware experience. So I did security engineering for that particular system. So if you're someone who has a healthcare background and you're working at NIH or FDA, the system that you'll be supporting will most likely be a healthcare system. You might be asked to do a security assessment on Epic, but you, coming from that background, have that inside knowledge on the lingo, the types of things that you could look for. Sometimes these clients might try to lie to you and say, oh yeah, well, system can't do this. But if you have experience with Epic, you can say, actually, no, it does this. So there's no knowledge that's lost. And then if you guys email me independently, I could send you a chart that shows what different industry you are in and how you could map it to a cybersecurity skill, how those skills carry or translate over to cybersecurity. And if you are already in the cybersecurity field, how do you build on your existing experience? Go to seminars, watch YouTube videos, get CPEs, always learn, always keep up with what's going on. I always say that I like the non-technical side of things after doing the technical stuff for many years, losing sleep when the servers are down, trying to fix this, trying to keep up with the new technology that comes out. I found out it was easy with the policy side. On the policy side, if there's an update in policy, it's not that much of a heavy lift for that update in policy. But on the technical side, you have to go learn a whole new technology. Like I was a VMware expert, and then AWS cloud came, and then VMware was kind of like, okay, you're obsolete. You see what I'm saying? So it's easier to get into the non-technical side as a stepping stone, and then you can transition your way in to the technical side. Because most of the time, people require you to have experience starting out in cybersecurity, especially for the technical part.
Thank you very much for that. I think the last question we can discuss here is, can you share a little bit about Cyber First Academy and what your training model is, and sort of the end-to-end?
Okay, so Cyber First Academy is an online site. We're in the process of actually upgrading to a different platform. So there's a link. If you go visit the site, you'll see a link that will take you to our previous platform. But it's basically a site that has free cybersecurity training as well as some paid cybersecurity training. So you have training for the Security Plus, training for the CISSP, cloud certification training. So that's my avenue to kind of grow the profession, if you will. And then I have targeted training for people who are trying to be information security officers or security control assessors. There's something called the RMF, the Risk Management Framework, which lists a 7-phase process on how to get a system secure and authorized. So I walk you through those phases, and I actually teach you what you would do on the job. So I have training that are certification specific, and I have trainings that are job specific. So what you would actually do on the job, and different tips and tricks. And we also help people with building their resumes, doing interview preps, and things of that nature. Then I also have my consulting site, which is Cyber First Solutions, which does cybersecurity consulting. So I help small businesses as well as mid to large businesses with cybersecurity compliance. And so these are my sites: cyberfirstacademy.com and cyberfirstsolutions.com. And I also have a YouTube channel, which I shared cybersecurity nuggets on, as well as an Instagram handle, which is Cyber First Solutions. I share different topics on cybersecurity, especially breaches. Almost every day there's a cybersecurity breach. So I'm always posting something about, oh, this company just got hacked. Any more questions?
Sorry, I was trying to get the links to post them, and I posted a video from your channel, I believe, so you can hopefully it's the right one, so you can cross-check that. But we've had an amazing evening talking. I mean, you shared so much, and I think it was so encouraging to see that there's room for us to take more territory in this space as women, and that we have many, can I say, gifts and talents that position us to be successful as we often manage risk in the household, looking after our families and our significant others and our kids. So I think that was super amazing, because oftentimes we don't really see, or we see these figures and think there are limitations, but really it means there's more room for us to come in. And I think you may agree with me that employers would be interested in hiring more women in this space. So I think it's been really awesome. You know, the It Factor series, we're starting it with you, someone that's part of our community, and you've really shared your experience, your knowledge, as well as how you can be a resource to us as we explore. But everyone here is encouraged to dig in deep, and I will try and share this is live on YouTube, so you can rewatch it. You would see some of the slides decks there if you need to refer to some of the roles and titles. But explore, learn, and don't be afraid to reach out to Ola, the cyber risk guy. Because he's here, he's available, and he's been a real blessing for us this evening. So this is fantastic. Thank you so much. I was trying to keep count of how many people have been here. We got to 50 at some point, and I said, you know what, I need to be paying attention to what's being said here. So it's been an awesome evening. We thank you very much for blessing us with your time, and I hope everyone has been blessed. You can drop a message in the chat, share your thoughts and on how this session went, which is always nice for our speaker to be able to get that feedback from you. So thank you again. Have a blessed evening, and we will be back with another session of the It Factor. So yes, have a good evening.
All right, thank you,
you.
everyone.